Now imagine we had stable weather in Melbourne, eh? It's blowy one day, crap the next, folks, and then sometimes you get a nice day. Now it's been really windy, and the sudden change in temperature really makes it hard for the plants, but in reflection on that, tomatoes doing really well. Now this has only been, how long do you reckon? I can't remember exactly. Was it 2 weeks? About 3? About 3 or 4 weeks. So as a little seedling, it's taken off well, and what I've got here is a tomato frame. They're great because you just let it grow up through the middle. You can sort of snip off anything that hangs out too far, and you've got your tomatoes closer to the plant. You don't want it to become a big shrub because it gets out of control. But again, I've tried these when I lived in Melbourne, and it was very successful. If it becomes top heavy, well, you can push it down further in the ground because it's got 4 spikes, or if you're really desperate, like I've got a frame here, I can tie it to the side, but rarely you'll find it tumbling over unless it's all one-sided. So the idea is to actually grow it through and just weave it through the horizontal rings without having to tie it too much. Prune it, thin it out, and it'll be happy. Now that's one method. These are available from our outlets. We can't ship these out anywhere in Australia, but once we get into New South Wales, definitely. And we'll be shipping some of these up to South Australia shortly as well, folks. So that's the frame as far as the tomato frame is concerned in the metal form, which I really love. But also, let's go and talk about tying tomatoes onto a garden stake. The adverse weather has really taken its toll on our tomatoes here. Now these are the early ones I planted, and by right, where I live, it's really early. I haven't even planted my real crop that I really want to grow. These are all my trial beds that I'm doing here, and this is one that we planted about 2 months ago. Not 2 months ago, probably close to it now as I think about it, probably 6 weeks ago, and it's got septoria leaf spot all over it, and that's because of the bad weather. Look at this. Look at it, it's been hit. Now you can say, is the soil really good? Well, the soil is excellent because everything else is thriving, and so do the tomatoes, but they do not like the cold weather above. So you can have the best soil in the world, folks, but if they get weather beaten above, this is what happens. They don't like hot, cold fluctuations. So I reckon planting tomatoes, last year I said I was going to plant a month later, which I did at the end of October, early November. As we're going this year, my tomatoes that I'm preparing this year are only this big. These ones I bought in. They're only this big, so by the time they're big enough to be planted out, it'll be November. And hopefully the hothouse is up, but I won't need it then because it'll bloody be summer. Now, if you've got spots on your plants like this, there's not a lot you can do other than prune it all out, folks. You really got to, and I did mention in the past, don't prune on cold days. Who's a hypocrite now? Well, I can leave it here and wait for a hot day to come, but if I look at the forecast, it's 14, 17, maybe 20, down to 13, 4 overnight. What we got to do here is cover this. I think somebody said that to me just before we started filming. I should listen to you. I will get a plastic over the top of this, maybe a cloche, a large one. I haven't got one here, or the grow tunnel. That's what I had on this. Now the problem here is I can't put a grow tunnel on this because I've got the tomato stakes in place, and I want to tie them up, but by the time I finish pruning them, there ain't going to be much of them left. So let's start with that. Let's clean them up. Down there. And look at this. If you can get to these quick enough to avoid it spreading all over the plant, because it does spread with the rain and the wind, and we've got a lot of that happening at the moment, we may need to spray it with bicarb soda. And I'll probably do that. But there's rain predicted now in the next couple of hours, so it'll wash off completely. So I'm going to have to risk it today, come back tomorrow, and give it an application. So bicarb, for those who haven't used it, it's about a teaspoon in a litre of water, a little bit more, and you'll be fine with that. But see all these markings? Have a look at that. On the stem, on the leaves, spotted everywhere like that. It'll just spread. You know, chances are these tomatoes will struggle if they don't get the hot weather and a stable hot weather. Now I've got to wash my tools before I go to the next one, and my hands, because even though they both got it, it might be a variant and enough to cause more problems. So prune it all off. Don't put it in your compost. I'm throwing it on the ground at the moment, but I'm going to pick it up after and burn it, put it in a plastic bag and tip it, or leave it out in the, when you get a hot day and solarize it, so it just kills off all the spores. There's not much left of this one. Look at this. The central stem is the main one here that's been affected. That's right here. Now, I've got to take it off regardless. There's one leaf. Just going to prune it back slowly. Yeah, I didn't wash my tools. Do as I say, not as I do. take that off. It's still on there. We may be able to stop it from spreading any further. And this central stem, see how I left these two on the side here? That's the original stem, and these are the new suckers that come out there. Now, we may be removing this completely. I'm not going to do it now, but just see how this goes. Have a close look. I need the glasses. Let's get the goggles on. Oh no, look at this. It's completely infected still. And it's just rubbing off from one plant to the other. So that's gone, that's gone, that's gone over here, like that. And it's already starting on these little leaves here. You can't grow tomatoes in Lethbridge outside, folks, unless it's bloody 30 degrees in summer. And by then it's too late because you've got a short period of growth left, or warm weather. So, hothouse, here we come. So folks, what is the lesson here? Build your bloody hothouse, Vasily, or move to Adelaide, or maybe New South. I kind of like Adelaide weather. Every time I've been up there, guys, I really, really love your weather. It's a lot better than what we got down here. And yeah, I would not struggle at all growing anything in that climate, or New South Wales. I'm really being challenged down here. So there's a lot of other presenters, gardeners and everywhere in different regions of Australia, and everyone's got their problems, or each region has its own good and bad situations when it comes to microclimates. For us down here, it's bloody cold. We can't grow those warm, sort of temperate plant varieties like our tomatoes and eggplants easily, freely. In Melbourne, I suppose, in central Melbourne and sort of surrounding suburbs, where it's really built up, there's lots of concrete, lots of bitumen on the ground, buildings and all things like that, the temperature's a lot higher, micro temperature, not the general temperature they give you. Like if it's 23 degrees, you go in a backyard where the sun's blaring, it'll be 33 or 43 degrees sometimes off the concrete, radiating. And that's where you get that growth. For example, on the way up, and I should show you, come and have a look at my Malacca tomatoes, come on. Now these little babies here, folks, were taking forever to germinate here in Melbourne, even with the heat, man, a little makeshift hothouse, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I'm going to be gone for 4 days, which is what I was gone for. I thought, I can't leave these behind. I can't rely on the family, and I can't put the pressure on them. Mind you, the guy who's holding the camera here at the moment wasn't here either, so he's gone. The other daughter's in Melbourne. The wife's with me up in Adelaide. I've got one daughter here who's basically going out with a boyfriend every day, every other day, I should say. So I couldn't rely on anybody to water these for 3 days. So guess what I did? I chucked them in the back of the truck. And by the time I got up to Adelaide, half of these, all these germinated, all this, you can't see them properly, come and have a look. So it's been a while, they need a bit of water there. So all these little babies here, all germinated across there. So you can see the large ones. These are the ones that were only growing. So in Adelaide, in 3 days, these things have doubled in size. Now they've come back to Melbourne and they're stunted. Again, they've stopped growing. I can't keep them too hot all the time because they've got to acclimatise to this crap. And what we've got in here, this is it. This is all for personal use, folks. I'm not selling these. I've got my big Malaccas here. I've got the 2.4 seed here of the big Malaccas. And the little Malaccas are so slow to take off. We've got 3 or 4 popping up, but really hard to see it, as are the Italian Malaccas. They're coming back, folks. We've got the 2 rows there, so I reckon I'll get about 20 plants out of those, probably 10 little Malaccas, and a hell of a lot of big Malaccas. So these are all being prepared for the hothouse. They're not going to grow outside. Not here, no. No way. There's no way with this bloody weather. So what's the message here, folks? In this garden bed here, where they're protected from the high winds, because we're still out there, so this side here is a little bit protected. The cauliflowers and plants around it are protecting the plant, no disease, nice and clean. There's one here and there's one on that side. So the hothouse is giving it a bit of protection. Also, keep in mind, you do not need to grow these in full sun, full blaring sun. They don't need to grow out there. Bloody birds are still digging up this garden bed. They can tolerate part shade. So tomatoes will actually perform better under a little bit of shade cloth, which is what I had last year with the black shade cloth growing over them, and they were happy. So that also reduced the amount of cold that they were copping. This year they're going straight into a hothouse, and that's the only way we're going to be able to look after them. So if you're looking for shade cloth, we've got plenty online. VasilisGarden.com. Our outlets are all up and running. There's 10 now, with Taylor's Hill coming online, folks. It's all there for you to be able to shop online, click and collect, or walk in store as well, and save yourself a heap on shipping. From me, Vasily, Maresi.